Greetings, I'm Carolyn Cole from the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District, and I'm here again today with another segment of our artist video commentary. Today we're here with Stephen Sedman, who's a resident of Easton but has had a studio in Braintree for 25 years. Now Stephen specializes in wedding photography, as you'll see this beautiful picture right here, but he has other talents as well, as you'll find most photographers do. So, welcome, Stephen.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here today.
It's a pleasure.
Now, tell me something about this picture, why you chose this kind of a
Well,
background.
this particular picture means a lot to me. It won a lot of awards in the photographic industry. It won a Kodak Gallery Award. It won Best in Show on the Professional Photographers of Massachusetts, and it also got a merit at the international competition at the Professional Photographers of America. The title of the image is The Limo's Late. It's at the Red Lion Inn in Cohasset, and the bride was very nervous, and she was looking out the window saying, "Where is that limo?" And she was very aggravated. But that image actually has a nice serene feel to it and kind of a classic 1920s look. And she was really pleased that even at a moment that she was under stress and not feeling very happy, I was able to capture something that was interesting and that tells the story in a better light than it was at the time.
Right. She looks like she's more pensive rather than agitated.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's an image that was kind of fun to capture, and it kind of typifies trying to make the best out of any situation.
Stephen, I know you told me that this is a traditional style of photography. Can you explain to me what the scenery is first? It's very interesting.
Sure. This was captured in it's Big Bear Butte in South Dakota. I actually was out at the Sturgis motorcycle rally out there for that. And while I was there, I captured some nice landscape images along with all the people. And while this crazy motorcycle rally was going on, I managed to still capture some nice, soothing landscape images. This one is a traditional photographic print. It's a digital capture, but it's still printed on photographic paper, silver halide, just like they have been doing since the turn of the century.
Great. And now we'll move over to this one here, which is very interesting. And you can tell me the story of the skyline.
This is a skyline of New York City. This is the Brooklyn Bridge. I just photographed an opera singer in Manhattan and was driving over to visit my cousin since I happen to be in the city. And while driving over, not the Brooklyn Bridge, I'm sorry, I forget the name of the other bridge that goes over, my assistant was driving, and I said, quick, quick, find an exit ramp. We have to get down. The light is perfect. And we were able to drive underneath the bridge we were near and capture this beautiful image at just the right time of day. The only trouble was all the criminals and everything was were hanging out on the docks. It was a little scary having an expensive camera there.
Now, you mentioned that it was a different type of a print, and it almost looks like a painting.
Yes, this is it's called a giclée canvas. It's a pigment-based ink applied to canvas. So it's kind of halfway between printmaking and photography. It's got a great permanence. It will last 200 years, as opposed to a regular photograph won't last that long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about this adorable little girl.
This adorable little girl is Ariel, my youngest. This was when she was 4 years old, I believe. It's a giclée on fine art paper print, and it's taken with window light. It's a very traditional portrait style, and I think it really captures her eyes. It was all about her eyes. The light is lighting up her eyes and that kind of innocence, and I was just trying to capture that mood and that time in her life. And she's cute.
Yes, she is. And still is.
Yes.
Let's start with this picture over here, this landscape, and tell us something about that.
This landscape I titled The Main Event. I was traveling along the coast just for recreation, and brought my camera along to do a few nice images. This is actually stitched from multiple images, so they can be a very high-resolution photograph and capture all this amazing detail that's in there. It was a beautiful day, and captured the kind of the mood of the water and the stone and that rocky shore. Yeah.
Reminds me of Gloucester, Mass, too. It has that same,
that same rocky shore,
and
yeah.
roughness to the water.
And lots of texture in the rocks and texture in the water. It's all about the textures. Yeah.
And now this one here, is this a photograph also?
This is a photograph. This is a digitally manipulated photograph. This is also of Ariel. And with this one, I was trying to do something a little bit different and moody, kind of dreamy. This was processed through Photoshop, and I gave it a very kind of glass smooth skin, kind of the porcelain doll look. And I had laid her hair out. She's actually almost upside down in this, so that her hair is kind of doing all this kind of cool wavy stuff. And it was just kind of a little more ethereal kind of portrait, very different in style than the more traditional portrait of her on the other side.
And almost, it doesn't look like hair at all. It looks like some kind of a smoky background, as though there's a mist almost.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of blends together and just developing a mood. Yeah.
Now I see we're into more traditional art.
Yes, yes. This is a landscape that I've simply titled Landscape. It's a spring scene, just very traditional study of landscape during the spring. A little brook running through, a little impressionistic, hint of the trees just budding, the grass and that sort of thing. Just, good, solid, hanging around outside, enjoying the fresh air and doing a painting. Yeah.
Right. So, Stephen, this you said is the Boston skyline now.
Yes, yeah, Boston Harbor at sunset. This was, I was lucky enough to be in the perfect light for this right after photographing an engagement session. So I was doing an engagement session down on the waterfront, and after I said, okay, you're all set, goodbye, and I hung out for an extra 10 minutes to capture the light just as I wanted it. This is also a stitched together image. The really dramatic perspective is given by having multiple images all stitched together. So it's kind of traditional looking, but it's got a little bit of a painterly quality just because all the light dappling on the water. But the dramatic composition of the buildings all being here and then the water stretching out kind of makes it a little interesting. It's great to be able to do something artistic and enjoyable after a regular job, such as an engagement session or portrait session.
Now this is another giclée, is that what you're talking?
Yeah, it's another giclée on canvas. For this one is in Washington, D.C. This is the Jefferson Memorial and the cherry blossoms. I've always wanted to photograph the cherry blossoms. It's been a goal of mine for, on my bucket list. And I was lucky enough to get commissioned to do a couple of portraits in Washington, D.C. And when they had told me when they wanted to do them, it was like 2 weeks before this was going to be peak bloom. And I said, would it be okay to delay 2 weeks? And they were perfectly open to it when I explained that I wanted to capture the cherry blossoms. So I photographed the portraits, but before then, I got up before dawn, made my middle daughter lug my camera bag down to the water before dawn. It was pitch black outside, and we waited for just the right light to come up, and this is right as the sun rises.
It's wonderful because you can see the sunlight coming across the water as well as above the building.
Yeah, it's got a really nice texture to the water, just the little cherry blossoms all going in there, and then the color is so rich and beautiful from that nice quality of light that you get at dawn. Yeah.
And Stephen, this is another piece of traditional art.
Yes, this is oil on canvas. This one's just titled simply Still Life with Apples. It's an older piece of mine, but I've kept it around as I like it. It's a very traditional still life, just looking and seeing what you can see, seeing what colors and textures there are out there to be had.
Well, this is quite a nice self-portrait.
Yeah, I don't do too many self-portraits, but this one I did as kind of a Valentine's Day zombie humor kind of joke. I posted this as my Facebook profile yesterday for Valentine's Day. But I titled it The Artist's Heart, and it was 6 photographs combined together. The heart was a cow's heart. My heart isn't that big. I photographed a skeleton at Regis College in their biology department. They were nice enough to lend me a skeleton to use. And then, of course, the portrait I photographed in my studio of myself just by using a self-timer. And then the background is yet another image that's another place in my house.
This would work for Halloween as well.
It would work for Halloween, yes, yes, absolutely.
Now, this is obviously a wonderful family portrait.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, this is my wife and my 2 older daughters. This is Sarah, Hannah, and my wife, Kelly. I want to do kind of a very traditional, painting of a domestic scene. And of course, I've seen my daughters getting ready a million times on the couch and said, you know what, we're going to stage it just a little more and put them in clothing that I felt was a little more old-fashioned and traditional to kind of amp up that traditional quality of the painting.
Now, this is really untraditional for a photographer to do a piece of sculpture, but kind of tell us the background in this?
Yeah, my background actually, believe it or not, I have a bachelor's degree in sculpture. So I started off in sculpture and moved towards photography, even though I've been doing photography for a very long time. Sculpture and photography are really closely tied together. Sculpture, a good sculpture is all about how light affects a three-dimensional object. And photography is really about the same thing. This particular piece is welded steel. And it's called Mother and Child. And it was really about a contrast of textures and a feeling of protection. Like the larger piece that's been scarred and been through a lot of life is protected by the nice, fresh, shiny new piece that's perfect. And this is, you know, I've done a lot of larger scale pieces like this, which is why it's the only sculpture that I have in the show here. One of my pieces was at a designer outlet mall down on the South Shore that's like 37 feet tall. Oh. So that obviously wouldn't have been easily transportable here.
No.
Yeah, but this was a kind of a table-sized piece that I had that I could bring in for an example of that kind of work that I do.
Well, thank you very much, Stephen, and I hope our viewers will check out his website. It's Sedman Photography.
Sedmanphoto.com.
Sedmanphoto.com.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.